Here we are today. I want to change the hoses on my Smith Little Torch here, and I thought I would show you how that's going to happen. These are the knockoff brands of the hoses. I think these are probably Gentech brand, and I got the 12 footers this time because I thought it might be nice to have a little longer hose to go with my other one. So here's the old one, and I wish that I had recorded the taking off of the old hoses because it was a little bit more involved than I would have guessed. This was a replacement hose, just an aquarium hose that I replaced this, and it was just attached with binding wire, and it wasn't all that old, so it came off fairly well. But this one was the original hose, and it was just fused on there with heat and time. And anyway, I heated it up gently with a heat gun, and I was able to pull this one off, but this one was stuck. So I very carefully took a separating disc and ground away the fabric so I could see the hose. And I still couldn't get it off. But you have to be very careful with these knurled edges here, because you don't want to damage them with your X-Acto knife or any kind of tool, cutting tool, separating disc, whatever. If you damage that, then the chances are much greater that when this goes on there, that it's going to leak through some of that little scratchy, damaged areas there. So what you want to do is be very careful. So basically, I took an X-Acto knife and I just cut away the excess rubber plastic that was on there until I got close, and then I sort of scraped it and picked at it, and it was a general pain in the ass, to be honest with you. But I got it all clean. But you see, what my concern is that there's not a lot of space between the two there, and I always used binding wire in the past. They come originally from the factory with a smooth tube that's kind of crimped on there. But these guys come with this kind of clamp. And now it's not a hose clamp, it's a something clamp. And I forgot the name of it. And there is a special tool that squeezes them closed, but it doesn't come with the tool. Let's open this guy up, and this is the way that the other end comes, and that comes pre-installed, with the little rubber sleeve and these obnoxious clamps, which I really don't care for. So that's kind of clungy, but whatever, I guess it works. And then they come with these guys on the end. These are those clamps. And this is what I have to work with. Now, my concern is, once these guys are on there, there's not a lot of room for this clamp and this clamp to go side by side. And now there's two of them. In other words, they want you to put both of those together like that. Now, I mean, come on. Look right there. I just don't see it happening. I can try it. Okay, maybe the offset of a Gentek torch or even the Uniweld torch might be a little bit farther apart, but I doubt it. But look here, if we start to put this one on and this one on, and the hoses are a little bit thicker material, but you can see we don't have enough room between these. I'll be lucky to get those on and some binding wire in between. We don't have enough room to use these two clamps in between these two nipples. So I'm going to disregard that. So you make that choice. I don't like those guys anyway. I don't think I want them under my hand. I hate hose clamps, and these are not too much different than hose clamps. But I think I'm going to have to cut these off even so that I don't have, this business to contend with. And I can wrap my wire around this tape, which is just to protect and hold up this sleeve. Now, green is oxygen, green, green. Red is fuel, red, red. When you're putting these on, don't get that mixed up, because it would be real easy when you're futzing around to go, okay, I got them. Now look, oops, they're backwards. That's not going to work. You're going to have to do it all over again. So keep that in mind and we will proceed on. But right now, I'm going to go get a nice sharp X-Acto and I'm going to slice off these two ends so that they're even, and probably more cosmetic than anything, but I'm going to do it. I got a piece of wood to cut it against and an X-Acto knife, and I'm just going to try to slice this down so that that's a little bit cleaner. Trying to just straighten out the hoses so I can see about, yeah. Okay. So I might have to take a little heat gun and warm these slightly to jam them on there, but I'm not really sure. Let's try one and see how easily it goes on. Well, not that easily. I think we need to get them up there a wee bit farther. Now you can see the gap that I have here isn't very big. I think if you spend a little time and just kind of work this up, I think we can do it. I'm afraid if I heat this with the heat gun that I may be shrinking this, which is probably a shrink tube in the first place. So I'm just going to spend a little bit of effort and see if I can't work those up. I decided I'd pull out some non-jewelry tool to see if that would help me in being able to grab onto this and sort of work it on up. Not having lots of success here. This job isn't for the faint of hearted. If you don't have a lot of confidence in doing things on your own, you probably just want to buy them already attached. Or maybe you can take them someplace and have somebody do it. I don't know, I feel like I'm damaging the hose in all of this. And I don't know that I'm making it any farther up. I mean, it's on there far enough to do its job. I just don't really like seeing that. I feel like it should be at least up to the end of the torch. Okay, I'm exhausted from all this effort. But I used a heat gun and I just warmed these. I would recommend using a hairdryer, something that you can't get it too hot with, and warming that tube, warming this whole area, and I was able to shove them on with brute force, that much. Now, the only thing I don't like so far is there's a little twist in these hoses that kind of affects the way that I can hold it in my hand. It wants to twist, and maybe that's not a big deal because when you have a 12-foot hose, it'll be more flexible. Okay, as you can see, there is no room in there for clamps. I mean, I'm going to be lucky if I can get binding wire in there. Now, really, this should hold it. There's really no reason why. Now, maybe when these get old and less flexible and you accidentally stand on your hose while you're pulling on the torch head, you might be able to pull them off. But right now, there is really no reason why I would need a clamp or binding wire, but who knows? And it's probably a safety feature. You certainly wouldn't want it to come off while you were using it. So I'm going to use this binding wire. I have 26 gauge iron because it's a little softer than stainless. I want the thinnest stuff I can because I have to get it in between there and tie it around. So I'm going to cut myself a long enough piece that I can work with it. Okay, I cut myself about a 4-inch piece along here so I have enough to work on. And I put it through here, and I've just kind of worked it down in between. I want it to go a little bit farther because the second half is gonna, the green one's gonna have to go on the other side. So let me see here. I can show you. I've got something I can kind of pull against here. Well, nothing has been easy in this job so far. Okay. Now, in a perfect world, I'd wrap this around a couple times. I'm not sure I have the energy to do it a couple times. Let me see if we can do it. So we want to pull this one down like we did the first one. And that looks pretty good. Now I need another pair of pliers so I can grip on both sides. Now I'll just pull this tight. Now, where I want to put this twist is probably important, because if I put it on right here on the outside, I will always be feeling it and be in the way. So I'm going to wrap it around here and put it as close as I can right there. And this hose is kind of being stiff and getting in my way, so let me see if I can get it to be a little bit looser and relaxed so that it's not fighting me. So this one should be just pretty much a simple, I mean, I can't pull it super tight while I'm doing it, but I'm going to just do the twist around. And that's not as much in the center as I would have liked, but nothing ever is. Now this is where, and you really only have a couple chances of this, because if you twist it too much, it breaks off. Pretty tight. I'll push my luck. Okay. Then we're going to trim this off. And I would use my Optivisor and make sure that this is tight. And then I'm going to put that down. Okay, now we have to do the other one. And because this one isn't as far down, what I might want to do is take the wire in that little hole right there and work it up for the oxygen side. As you can see, this isn't rocket science. It's just fiddling. So don't start it when you're in a big hurry, because it just takes some patience and some fiddling. Oh, that isn't pretty, but it's not catchy at all. Now you could put a shrink tubing or some black electrical tape on that. So now's the time to install this and do a little leak check on it. But I have to say that it was a nuisance, but how much are you saving? And even if you buy the Smith replacement brand hoses, you're still going to have to do this part. So I don't know how it could be a whole lot easier if you bought that brand. So really, if you could buy it already on the torch, that's nice, but you know, at some point in time, you're going to have to replace the hoses. It's just a given. You always want to check the connection here and watch for bubbles. Even a little bit of bubbles will drain your tank in no time. But this is kind of what we're looking for, bubbles here in this connection, which was factory made, so that should be no issue. You can see this one up here is the Uniweld torch and how we have those little guys on there. Always check everywhere for bubbles. Actually, this one isn't even on. Didn't really want to fill those hoses full of oxygen, viable oxygen. I'll just have to drain it out. Okay, let's check the other one because this looks good so far.